Good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is Kris with Inspired Energy, and good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
So, we've decided to revisit the different types. So, this morning you've chosen the projectors. So, can you just go over a little bit about projectors before we get started for anybody that might be new?
Projectors are the second most numerous type at 22%, 22%. And what defines them, if you're not a generator, the most numerous type, the other ones obviously don't have the sacral center defined. But what distinguishes a projector is they do not have a motor connected to the throat, and they do not have the sacral defined.
Mm-hmm.
So what projectors are observant of is the energy of others. And therefore, their role in the world is to guide, manage, and direct the energy of others. They're not here to be productive. They're here to facilitate facilitate things for the other types in a way. That's kind of the nutshell. That's what we've been talking about and what we know about projectors. There's also, it's interesting, there is more variety in the designs of projectors than any of the other types. What does that mean? Well, you could be a splenic projector, have splenic inner authority. You could be a projector with emotional inner authority. You could be a projector with self-projected inner authority, or even ego authority. Or you might have purely mental authority. So there are more different variations of projectors than any of the other types.
Interesting. So, what kind of auras do they have?
The aura of a projector is focused and penetrating. And so when you're in the sights of a projector and they're focusing their attention to you, it may feel like you're being peered into. You are being penetrated in some way. And I know I find it interesting because I can usually tell which of my clients are projectors because they're very good listeners. And it's like, oh, okay, I recognize this. I mean, I'm a projector, of course, but excuse me. When projectors pay attention to you, you know it, because they give you their whole attention.
Mm-hmm. So, what does it look like when they're not living their not self life?
Well, projectors, even though they're here to guide and manage and direct, which sounds like a leadership energy, and in a way it is, it's not a leadership energy in the way that we often think of leaders. This is a leadership that is asked for. Projectors can't lead if they're not asked to lead. Even though they have great things to offer, they can't offer it. If they try and offer it, they just irritate everyone.
Well, it's more like they also have to have the right person to present it to. They can't just present it to just anybody. It has to be the right demographic as well as being invited, right?
Yes, because the strategy of a projector is to be recognized for certain values, different projectors will be valuable in different ways, and they need to be recognized for how they are valuable and invited to offer that in order to fulfill themselves and deliver their gifts to the world. So yes, not every projector is gifted in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so to recognize a projector is to it's something that's easy to do. If they're the ones that are meant for you and have something to offer you, then then to the non-projector, it's like, wow, this person has something to offer.
Mhm.
But when they are living out their not self, they often get afraid that no one will see them, notice them, validate them, invite them, recognize them. And out of that fear of not ever being able to give their gifts, they can get really attention seeking.
Mhm. Because I know lots of projectors now, and I'm pretty good at picking out projectors. But
Uh-huh.
I've noticed something with projectors in
Yeah.
particular. Like a lot of people have trouble stepping up, but I find projectors, especially, don't see what their gifts are and step up when they're so gifted. Like, there's so many people that we know in our circle that are projectors. And I'm just like, oh, you have so much to offer. Like, we have a wonderful healer. And I'm like, just like offer something, like you have so much knowledge, you have so much to give. But yeah, if they just, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it depends on what you mean by step up.
Well, I just
If
mean
by
to
step up
offer
you
it.
mean take the initiative, if by
Oh no.
step up you mean put
No, they're
themselves
invited.
forward.
No, they're invited in, but they don't see the value like I do. That's what I mean. Like I'm seeing their value, right? Yeah, because we have many people, that are
Yeah.
projectors. I have like 6 in my head right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have 4 that work here or that have worked here, right? hmm it's interesting because they tend to be oh, more laid back. Is that the word I want to use? I'm not sure, but they're not as, um, yeah, assertive or, you know, even
Well, that's
when
a
they're
tricky
invited.
one because
Yeah.
that is a tricky one because
Hello.
being truly recognized
Yeah.
is not as easy as saying, "Oh, you're good at that. Do that." It requires something deeper.
hmm
And so that's why
hmm
that's what might make the difference. Because when
hmm
projectors do say, "Hey, look at me. I'm really good at this. I know the answers. You're doing this, you bozos." Well, sorry, that's exaggerating. Even if they kind of often, if when projectors try and seek attention, they're often seen as pushy or bossy or nosy or annoying, and they repel other people. So it
hmm
could be that projectors have got into the space of
hmm
maybe going in the opposite direction, some of them, Kris, in a sense that they know that anytime they have tried to assert
hmm
themselves in the past, it hasn't worked and it's just created bitterness for them. So this underlines something which is
hmm
quite interesting, which is that it takes a while. I'm still trying to figure it out, frankly. It takes a while for projectors to
hmm
figure out how to work with their own energy in a way that interfaces with the world in a
hmm
effective way. It's a tricky
Yeah.
one.
Well, I think that that's
But I
all
think
that
we've
we're
also known
trying to
that we've
figure out.
also had the, sorry, Kris?
I said I think we're all trying to figure ourselves out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's not just the projectors.
Yeah.
um, but it's I think we all have had the experience too of people who are really pushy with their energy
hmm
and are seeking validation from other people. Those are often the
mm
projectors as well.
mm
They are good at pointing out, They're good at recognizing the gifts of people in their environments because they often see it. Um, but that
So,
energy, when they offer their thoughts on things, then it when it's not solicited, it doesn't work.
so
It
how
creates.
are they supportive? Like, what can they show you? Like, if
Um,
you, I think you wrote, if you love a projector, what can they show you?
no, what can you do to show them that you love them?
You wrote, if you love a projector, what can you do to show that?
Right.
So
What can
be
you do to
supportive,
show the
value their
projector that they
insights.
be supportive, value their
Yeah,
insights and advice,
yeah.
ask them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if they have had it, if you have a child who seems pushy and sort of intrusive,
Mm-hmm.
then invite them to be part of something rather
Mm-hmm.
than and invite them
Mm-hmm.
invite them and ask for their ask for their opinion, and then they
Mm-hmm.
won't have to push it on you is
Mm-hmm.
what it's suggesting,
Yeah.
because not self projectors will often be pushy with their opinions. I know when I was young I certainly was,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, people don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
um, Give them undivided attention. Sometimes, be interested in what they have to say, what's going on in their brains. um, if their projectors can get overloaded by people, so
Mm-hmm.
if they're in that place of overload, don't push them at those times. Just
Mm-hmm.
understand that they will withdraw. um, um,
I wonder
yeah, I
about
mean,
projector children, like, because they seem like they would be always asking questions. And you know how, I don't know, but I had little kids, and it's like, well, how come? And why? And how come? Why did they do that? And I imagine that, somebody who's a projector would just amplify that. Like, I mean, and if you understand that about your child, that they are even more inquisitive, um, it would be to help engage that, and, you know,
yeah,
try
yeah.
try and maybe even help them seek their own answers, you know? Well, that's a really good
Well,
question, you know?
asking them, well, and also asking them open-ended questions is
Mhm.
useful,
Right.
and have them think about it. So guide them, perhaps, guide them to ask the right questions. But also, just because they're children,
Mhm.
how we have that expression, out of the mouths of babes.
Mhm.
It's often going to be the projectors who have those insights that zing the adults. So just
Mhm.
because they're little kids, don't they're all already seeing how the energy is operating in their environments. They're
Right.
already having some really interesting and useful insights into
Mhm.
people, and so you can ask them about that,
Yeah.
or I mean, find ways to invite them to say that.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, those are I think probably one of the best ways of coming to understand and value projectors is to value yourself for whatever type you are,
Mhm.
and then begin to be interested in what the other types are about. And then you'll begin to see what the projectors are bringing to the environment.
Mhm.
Um, and, it's kind of crazy being a projector because um, your value is going to be, it's going to fly under the radar unless people are actually inviting you
Mhm.
and valuing your insights.
Yeah. Well, I just
Um,
find of the projectors that I know, they ask the most questions of anybody that I know. Like
Hmm.
they're they're always seem to be seeking knowledge or seeking more, you know, compared to any of the other types. Anyways, that's what I observe. Like
Yeah.
our friend Roger, like he asks questions all the time, and I'm like, well, where did you think about that question, right? It's not even anything that I even thought to ask. We're talking about the Bible, for example, and I'm like, I never even thought to ask that question, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
I that's my experience with projectors. Anyways, even you ask questions that I'm like, why would you ask that question? Because it just
Yeah.
didn't even dawn on me to ask it.
Well, yeah, projectors are designed to kind of study things deeply,
Mhm,
so that if we master a system, then we have something to offer others.
mhm,
Um, and sometimes, for the not self projectors,
mhm,
I mean, most of us are living not self lives in many ways.
mhm,
The question asking is sometimes a attention seeking.
mhm,
It can be an attention seeking behavior.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, it's interesting.
mhm. So, how do they live a balanced life then? That one that is healthy and good for them.
Well, it's interesting you ask that because it really is a little bit it's interesting for projectors to figure out how they live, and this is why on the internet there's all sorts of services in the human design community that are specialized for projectors.
Mhm,
There's projector only groups and projector only courses to try and help projectors figure out and claim their power.
mhm,
But a couple of things have emerged is that you need time to yourself to tune in to yourself and your own energy.
mhm,
Just being quiet, just being in your own space, meditating, being in nature, because tuning into your own system and your own energy is probably the best way to rebalance.
mhm,
Um, so I think that's kind of one of the foundations,
mhm,
because projectors, when they're around other people, are always going to be focused on the other people, because the energy of the other types calls the projector's attention.
mhm,
So that's why time alone is important. Whereas, a generator is a world in and of themselves. They're not necessarily going to be drawn to the energy of others in the same way. They're
mhm.
a different design.
Right. So, is there anything else that you want to say? We're getting close to time here.
Uh, um, Everything begins with self-love. So,
Mhm,
generate projectors more than some of the other types have to kind of say, what does it mean to live as a person who values themselves?
mm,
You know, um, because that penetrating energy of the projector is simply going to be irritating to other types unless they develop a certain level of self-love.
yeah.
But anyway, why is it
Yeah.
sounding so heavy today?
Oh, well, because you're talking probably about yourself.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of
yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. But I mean, it's also processing it, like that. So it's like a known for you, but you're being of value and you're now sharing that to others who may not know that about themselves, who are projectors. So, you're being of service that way, right?
Yeah, there really has to be a projectors are not good at understanding themselves.
Hmm.
That's one of the major takeaways. They're good at seeing the truth and being insightful about other people, but they're not very good about it towards themselves. But there is a really wonderful quote here. that I would like to share
Sure.
from a book. This is not mine. Um, Projectors have a deep inner sense of what's possible for the world and know how to direct the necessary energy to bring the intangible into form. They are energy wizards and are, on an unconscious level, constantly realigning and managing the energy flow of the world. This is energy, and the projectors keep the energy grid of creation in place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting quotation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I feel it's a very far out there kind of quotation, but I do kind of feel the energy of that there is
Mm-hmm.
a rebalancing function that is going on in the way that I take part in the world.
Wonderful. So, is there anything that you want to tell people about what you're doing in the next little bit, or?
Um, well, coming up towards the beginning of March, we're going to be doing a parent and children tea circle about human design.
uh,
So that's going to be really
that's
fun
April.
because pardon?
It's April.
April. Sorry, Bowie.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beginning of April, I think the 3rd of April, we're doing that, and that's going to be fun. It's an opportunity for you to ask about your children, about the dynamics of what your children need, and it's going to be fun and playful and informative, and that's a fun thing.
And tea and
Um,
treats.
tea and treats,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, for sure. So looking forward to that. We also, in alignment with the parent and child thing, I'll just mention that we also have an Enchanted Princess Tea coming up on February 25th. There's a few tickets left for that you can get. It's all about a parent and child bonding experience. So they'll not only be having a little afternoon tea with sandwiches and tea and everything, but also doing art and contact dance. And then in April or March, I just about switched with you. In March, the 17th, we're doing a mystical magical fair again, where it's a interactive fair with different stations where the parents and kids can interact with all kinds of things, metaphysical or energy, all those types of things. So if you're interested, check out the website or Facebook. All the events are listed there. So with that, we'll say goodbye, God bless, and have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.